This is the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, Scotland. This statue commemorates the Scottish economist, philosopher, and author Adam Smith. He's widely considered to be the father of modern economics. His work helped to change the world in the 1700s, and it still influences economies worldwide today. Adam Smith was born in Kirkcaldy, Scotland in 1723. His father, Adam Smith Sr., had a career in the field of law. 2 months before Smith was born, his father died, leaving his mother a widow. Smith entered the University of Glasgow at age 14 and studied moral philosophy under Francis Hutcheson. Here, he developed his passion for the philosophical concepts of reason, civilian liberties, and free speech. At age 17, Smith was given a scholarship at Oxford College. However, he considered the teaching in Glasgow to be far superior than at Oxford. On one occasion, at Oxford, Smith was severely punished for reading David Hume's book, A Treatise of Human Nature. After his studies at Oxford, Smith delivered a successful series of public lectures at the University of Edinburgh. He was a close friend of fellow Scottish Enlightenment philosopher David Hume. They provided feedback and input into each other's work. This period was marked by a profound shift towards reason, science, and individualism over tradition and religious authority. Philosophers and scientists challenged long-held beliefs and proposed new frameworks for understanding human behavior, governance, and economic relations. This profoundly influenced Smith's development of moral and economic theories. Smith became a professor at Glasgow University, where he taught moral philosophy and wrote a book called The Theory of Moral Sentiments. Before Smith wrote The Theory of Moral Sentiments, the dominant view was that humans are mostly selfish and need to be regulated to control these selfish impulses. Adam Smith believed that people naturally care about others, not just themselves, and that sympathy and moral sentiments play a crucial role in human behavior. At the time, it was not a legal requirement to attend church, but attending church was seen as a mark of good citizenship and social respectability. If someone did not go to church, they were often outcast by the community, and their moral standing was questioned. Adam Smith challenged this by suggesting that morality comes from within an individual and does not need to be learned from the church. Smith introduced the idea of the impartial spectator, an imaginary person in our minds who judges our actions. We're inclined to do good because we are aware of this imaginary person's presence and judgment. This concept provided a secular and psychological explanation for conscience and moral judgment. Smith also pointed out that what we consider right and wrong can change with society and customs. He emphasized the importance of developing good character traits like wisdom, fairness, and kindness. This was a new way of thinking about morality, focusing on feelings, social influences, and being a good person, which was different from the popular beliefs of his time. The theory of moral sentiments contributed to the Enlightenment's broader movement toward individualism, reason, and the questioning of established authorities, influencing not just philosophy, but also the emerging fields of psychology and economics. After publishing The Theory of Moral Sentiments, Smith continued his work as a professor at Glasgow University. He taught courses on moral philosophy and logic, which helped him refine his ideas about economics and ethics. During this period, Smith expanded his studies to include more economics, politics, and philosophy. He read extensively and engaged in discussions with other scholars, which broadened his perspective on human behavior and society. In 1763, Smith accepted a position as a tutor for the young Duke of Buccleuch. This role involved accompanying the Duke on a grand tour of Europe, which was a common practice for young aristocrats to complete their education. From 1764 to 1766, Smith travelled across Europe, visiting France, Switzerland, and other countries. During this tour, he met many influential thinkers, including Voltaire, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and particularly the French economists known as the physiocrats, such as François Quesnay and Anne-Robert Jacques Turgot. The physiocrats advocated for economic freedoms, emphasizing that wealth comes from agriculture rather than gold and silver, and supported minimal government interference in the economy. These ideas resonated with Smith and deeply influenced his development of economic theories that highlighted the benefits of free markets and the importance of productivity for national wealth. After the tour, Smith returned to his hometown of Kirkcaldy in Scotland. He spent the next 10 years in relative seclusion, dedicating himself to writing his most famous book, The Wealth of Nations. Smith conducted extensive research and writing during this period. He drew on his experiences, his studies, and the ideas he encountered during his travels to develop his theories on economics. In 1776, after years of research and writing, Smith published The Wealth of Nations, or, as it was officially titled, An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. This work laid the groundwork for modern economics. In the early 1700s, economies across the world were controlled tightly by governments. Countries sought to export more goods than they imported, and there was heavy government regulation, large import fees for other countries, and colonial exploitation. Their primary goal was to acquire as much gold and silver as possible. Independent businesses had to adhere to the government's rules on producing goods, how goods could be sold, who they could be sold to, and what the prices would be. Countries prioritized national power instead of individual wealth and free trade. This was known as mercantilism. In The Wealth of Nations, Smith aimed to critique mercantilism and provide an alternative to this approach. Smith argued that wealth is not just gold and silver, but the total of a nation's production and commerce. He suggested that free trade, competition, and minimal government intervention lead to a more prosperous economy. He introduced the idea that the wealth of a nation is based on its production capacity, the efficiency of its labor force, and the living standards of its people. He said, every man is rich or poor, according to the degree in which he can afford to enjoy the necessaries, conveniences, and amusements of human life. Before Smith's work, many thought the government needed to tightly control people and the economy to keep it stable and orderly. Smith challenged this by introducing the idea of the invisible hand. It means that when people work for their own benefit, they often help society too. He believed that free markets regulate themselves through competition and supply and demand. In the past, people often worked on making goods by themselves. For example, a carpenter would make a chair by himself. Smith explained that dividing work into specialized tasks makes production much more efficient. He called this the division of labor. It can be illustrated by the example of making a chair. Instead of one person handling every step, from cutting the wood to assembling the final product, the work is divided among several workers. One person cuts the wood, another carves it into parts. A third person assembles the pieces into a chair frame, another sands it and finishes it. And finally, someone adds cushions and fabrics if needed. By focusing on specific tasks, each worker becomes highly skilled in their area, leading to faster production and higher quality chairs. This way, many more chairs can be produced in the same amount of time, demonstrating how division of labor boosts efficiency and productivity. In the past, people believed that being selfish was seen as bad and harmful to society. Smith believed that self-interest could lead to good outcomes when people compete in free markets. As people work to improve their own lives, they also create products and services that benefit others. Before Smith's work, many countries used something called protectionism, which involved charging large fees to foreign traders in order to protect their local businesses. Smith criticized this approach, saying it leads to inefficiency and higher prices for consumers. He supported free trade, where there are little or no fees for foreign traders. This creates a system where countries can specialize in what they do best, making production more efficient and goods cheaper. Prior to Smith's work, wealth was often associated with land and physical resources, not much on productivity or people's skills. Smith focused on productivity, emphasizing that a country's wealth comes from how efficiently it produces goods. He believed that innovation and improving workers' skills are key to economic growth. At the time when Adam Smith was writing The Wealth of Nations, a fellow Scot named James Watt developed an improved version of the steam engine, which greatly enhanced its power and efficiency. This innovation allowed for the development of steam-powered machinery that significantly boosted the productivity of manufacturing. This started and powered the Industrial Revolution. Manufacturing went from handmade methods to large-scale factories. Both Adam Smith and James Watt were part of the vibrant intellectual community in Glasgow. This environment fostered the exchange of ideas among scholars, scientists, and inventors. It is highly likely that James Watt's advancements influenced Adam Smith's economic thinking. With the rapid industrial development unfolding before them, there was a pressing need for guidance on how the economy and industry should operate. Adam Smith provided this much-needed guidance in The Wealth of Nations. Adam Smith's economic theories were both influenced by and influential in this transformative period. The rise of factories that were powered by James Watt's steam engine not only increased output, but also demonstrated the practical applications of Smith's division of labour concept. Factories organised around specialised tasks showcased unprecedented efficiency and productivity, embodying Smith's insights into labour and economic growth. Moreover, the Industrial Revolution expanded the scale and scope of markets, validating Smith's arguments for free trade and minimal governmental interference. As goods were produced more efficiently, markets grew larger and more interconnected, supporting Smith's vision of a global economic system driven by competitive markets. This period of rapid industrial and economic expansion provided practical evidence of the benefits of his economic principles, as nations that embraced these ideas tended to experience significant growth. In the same year that Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations, the United States of America became independent from the United Kingdom. The Wealth of Nations had a major impact on the development of the economic system in the United States. Adam Smith's work provided theoretical support for free trade, limited government, and the importance of individual enterprise, influencing key American leaders and policymakers. Its impact can be seen in the economic principles that guided the young nation and in the enduring values of free markets and entrepreneurship that continue to characterize the American economy. Adam Smith's legacy extends beyond the 1700s, remaining profoundly relevant in today's global economy. His concepts of the invisible hand and free markets continue to underpin contemporary economic policies and debates on globalization and trade. Smith's advocacy for minimal government intervention resonates strongly in current discussions about deregulation and economic liberalization. However, his ideas are also scrutinized in the context of increasing economic inequality and debates over the adequacy of market solutions to social problems. Thus, while Smith's work continues to inspire a pro-market ethos, it also serves as a starting point for critical discussions on the role of government and the need for equitable economic practices. This enduring relevance underscores Smith's profound impact on how we understand and manage the economic frameworks that shape our world. So there it is. Adam Smith changed the world in the 1700s by revolutionizing economics and shaping our understanding of morality. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more.